I don't ever slow up, no I don't take shit. I got no love for the fakeness. If you wanna play tough and wanna hate this, I'll always show up. I don't ever slow up, no I don't take shit. I got no love for the fakeness. If you wanna play tough and wanna hate this, I'll always show up and make a statement. I don't ever slow up.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to another edition of the Weekly Review. My name is Mike Larkin, and joining me tonight, as always, is my boy, the dead man of RWT, as it says on his handle here, the one, the only Mr. Paul Morales. What's up, Paul?
What's up, my brother? I am good. I am actually here. It's right after Bad Blood, so what a fucking PLE, man. I am telling you, I was thoroughly fucking enjoyed beginning to end with the whole thing. Even the Nia Jax Bayley match was fucking entertaining. That's how fucking good this PLE was.
All right, we'll start it there because it's his boo, and it's my boo too. Actually, they're both my boos. I love me some Nia and Bayley.
I love me some Bayley.
So this woman, they went for the powerbomb spot again. And Nia Jax tried to do a Hurricane Rana. It was what she did with how she shifted her weight. I got to say, I wasn't expecting that. But at the same time, I popped huge. I'm like, this woman almost pulled out a Hurricane Rana. I'm going to clap for it. I like that. Dude, we've said this so many times, and I've said it on many podcasts, not just with you, but with Nicola, with Robert, with Dan, with everybody. This is the best run that she's had. Like, this is literally the best run she's had. I am for Nia Jax, man.
And that's the exact same thing Michael Cole said. He actually agreed with you, and he actually pointed that out, that literally this is the best run that she's ever had. And literally, she is in the best shape of her life, and I love her shape. But I mean, I'm just saying that she is in the best shape of her life. Literally, like, she works out, like she's going to the gym. I mean, you watch her on her Instagram, on her Twitter, and you know, you see all these like pictures, especially in her story, of like her at the gym and her working out with like several different other wrestlers, including Tiffany Stratton, who was a little prominent in this match. But aside from that, yes, very much I agree. Nia Jax is, I will say what you say, doing her damn thing in this fucking match. Actually, in WWE, this whole run.
Hell yeah. I mean, Tiffany Stratton, like Paul mentioned, guys, came out at the end looking to cash in that money in the bank. Shouted, what you think? I got money in the bank. Then Nia, like she's the flipping Undertaker, sat up and was like, hey, what are you doing? And then she's like, no, I wasn't gonna do it. And then first of all, shout out to Jessica Carr, man. And I know she's a former professional wrestler. I love Jessica Carr too. She took a bump. She took a bump, and it was
that was a good one though. I like the way she sold it, man. She sold that thing really, really well, man. Good. Shout out to Jessica Carr, man. She did that damn thing.
For the life of me, I think that was probably the first time we've ever seen Jessica Carr actually take a bump in a match, which I enjoyed it thoroughly. Then it sets up, like we mentioned, Tiffany coming in, doesn't get a chance to do it. That distraction allows Nia to hit the Samoan drop off the middle rope. Then the Banzai drop, the Annihilator, 1, 2, 3. Nia retains. It's how it should be, and I look forward to seeing where we go next, which I'll tie this into it, because Triple H did make a big announcement, because this does concern Nia Jax. We are going to have champion versus champion matches at Crown Jewel to become the ultimate Crown Jewel champion. First, thoughts on the announcement, and number two, what were your thoughts on that doggone championship design?
The championship is look, they paid for it.
Yep,
they got what they paid for. So if it's like a $50 million belt, hey, you paid for it. That's all you. That's on you, boo-boo. That's all you. But in my opinion, it looks like the AEW World Championship. And I kid you, that ideal, I think it was like the first or second edition of that championship, where it had like those block freaking sections on it. That's what came to mind as soon as I saw it. But I'm like, God damn, this thing's filled with jewels. But as soon as he started announcing, well, it's like
50 carats.
So many carats were on it, and I'm like, man, you better have an armed security around that thing, and you better send that back to Saudi Arabia, because they ain't nobody gonna leave there with it. As
Now,
much as expensive as that damn belt is.
my thing is, and I will say this to you, and I've seen a lot of people say it on social media. I am for Gunther and Cody because of their history. Cody eliminating him twice in the Royal Rumble, respectively. There's history between Cody and Gunther, but if Tiffany doesn't cash in beforehand, I really have no desire to see Nia versus Liv because that just doesn't make me go ooh ah. I think what would be cool is because Tiffany's going the babyface route. I'd love to see Tiffany versus Liv. I think that would be very cool. That'd be very different. So I'm curious to see where that going. What are your thoughts on that particular scenario? Because I think a lot of people are not feeling Nia versus Liv.
Yeah, but we've had heel versus heel before.
Yeah, we have.
And it's not like it's anything new, and
Right.
I think it would be a good match. But I think on the hindsight, I would like to see Tiffany cash in, kind of turn face, kind of have that little baby face run for a little while, because I think she would be good at it. And she's such an excellent athlete, especially with what happened tonight with Liv and Rhea. But in particular, what gets me is if we get Tiffany and Liv, that would be awesome, because I'm sure that they could both work with each other cleanly, and maybe like a few hiccups here and there, but other than that, dude, I think that they could have an excellent match. And that's not taking anything away from Nia. I think that she can go too, especially with the work that she did with Bayley tonight. I mean, I'm so impressed. And I don't know, I mean, she's worked with smaller women before, with Asuka, with
Sasha.
with Sasha, with Kairi Sane, and and she's worked with Liv Morgan before, so it's not like this is the first time.
It's not like they've never wrestled each other. Yeah.
So it would be interesting to see them two in that dynamic together. So give me that. If that's where you want to go with this, and mind you, it's a Saudi Arabia show, so really ain't nobody going to pay attention to it,
right? And especially with how they both progressed. And I mean, with this being a Saudi show, I'm going to say this right now: Gunther came out, as we mentioned, Gunther and Cody. But for me, the ultimate match now we're going to get, and Bill, you're going to get your retirement match, because no Vince McMahon anymore. He insulted Goldberg and his son Gage, and Goldberg said, "You know what, you piece of shit," and then he went over the barricade. Adam Pearce and everybody tried to contain him. Then Sami Zayn came out to go for their match on Raw this Monday night for the World's Heavyweight Championship. And then Goldberg looked into the camera at Gunther and said, "You're next, boy." I got to tell you something. I for the first time in a long time, I am actually looking forward to a Goldberg match, because if this is the end for him, I want to see Gunther mollywop Goldberg. I am here for Gunther versus Goldberg.
Yeah, we were here for Gunther versus, I don't know. Yeah, we were trying to get Gunther. No, he was trying to get Brock Lesnar.
Yep.
That's who he was trying to get. Not Goldberg, but he was trying to get Brock Lesnar. So I don't know. I'm trying to figure out how this will go. I mean, I would much rather have Goldberg in shape, in a good ring shape. Not just what he did with The Undertaker, not just what he did with Kevin Owens and all that crap that he did, but I mean, I want him in the best shape of his life. I want to know that he's been spending 6-7 months in the damn ring, working it back and forth, and not just coming in half-ass out of shape and, wanting to come in to be world champion. I mean, I don't want that. I really don't, because I think if Gunther is going to take on a legend, not to say that he's a legend, not in my book anyways. I mean, yeah, he was good for his time in WCW, but nothing in WWE impressed me really. But I guess this would be a good match. I mean, if it happens, hey, cool. If it doesn't, ain't no sweat off my balls.
For a storytelling perspective, and I'm going to say this just because I'm putting the pieces of the story and the puzzle here together, folks. I think because of his son Gage is there, I would do it at Survivor Series, play off the fact that this is the pay-per-view where Goldberg came back and squashed Brock Lesnar in 1 minute and 30 seconds. That moment that he had with Gage at the end of that show back in 2016, you bring that up and you get to see that. So I think that could be a Survivor Series match, and Gunther can just mollywop him. that's where I would go. I mean, the only match really of his run that he had from 2016 and onward that I really kind of liked, like the McIntyre match was good at the Royal Rumble in 2021, even though there was no people. The match that that 2020, 2021, I think it was 2021. But the thing too is like there was no people for that one. That was in the Thunderdome era. That was fine. The Goldberg and Bobby Lashley matches were fine. The Braun Strowman match, whatever, the Roman Reigns match, whatever. But I think in this particular scenario, if you can put him in with a brick shithouse like Gunther, I think it'll be fine, just as long as he mollywops him. But I think there's a story to be told there. So let's see where we go.
I would like to see his son get in the ring.
Dude.
I really would, because if he's anything like his dad, and I mean, not saying that he's gonna kick Bret Hart's head off, but I'm saying, I know I shouldn't have brought that up. I'm sorry. My bad. No, but what I'm saying is like if you're going to involve his son, make it make sense. Like especially if his son is going to end up becoming a wrestler, that would be cool. Is to kind of bring him into the fold. That would be interesting, especially if his son ends up doing something with Gunther. Unagi.
For me,
not wrestle in the aspect, but I mean have an interaction or have like a confrontation, and then maybe like Gunther maybe hit him and like him want to come back and be like, all right, well it's kind of like one of those in that mindset where I'm gonna train and I'm gonna come back, I'm gonna whoop your ass.
Well, I mean, we did have the one interaction where Bobby Lashley put him in the Hurt Lock like a few years ago, but that was like a mini thing. But yeah, I mean,
but he's older now. He's not like it's not like he's like some young kid, so wet behind the ears kid.
He's like 18, 19. I mean, he's of age. Yeah. So, I mean, but I gotta say, man, that really piqued my interest. And what else piqued my interest? A lot of people were poo-pooing on the finish of this match. Liv Morgan and Rhea Ripley with Dominic in the shark cage. They told a good story. The fact that Dominic was, hanging like a piñata, and then Rhea Ripley with the kendo stick shots. That was perfect. And the Dominic Mysterio toilet paper merchandise on shop. I'm here for it, man. I was smiling ear to ear. This again, it was good storytelling. It was story driven, but the finish of Raquel. First of all, it's great to see Raquel Rodriguez back. I'm so happy to see Raquel back. Hits the Tejana bomb on Rhea Ripley, and then the bell rang, but she still put Liv Morgan on top of her, even though it was a disqualification victory. That continues that story. People hated the finish, but before the finish, I thought the match was told very well.
I am going to get into this, because this was something that I believe I posted on Twitter, because this is what people don't understand. And shout out to Chris Robinson, because I actually told him in his thread. I look at it like this: like there is history there. There is history between Rhea and Raquel. Sorry, my bad. But there is history there between the two. If you think back before she actually had those issues, those skin issues, and before she ended up becoming sick, she was in the title picture. So she was getting her push before everything happened with her. So it wasn't like this was something new. Is it renewed? Of course it is. Would I have liked to have had seen it maybe on TV? Yeah, but at a pay-per-view, it makes sense. Especially since her and Liv actually were tag team champions before.
Yep.
So her coming in, maybe being part of the Judgment Day, yeah, I could see that as kind of a focus. Another thing I pointed out to Chris was, this is not like Camille and Mercedes.
We'll get to that in a little bit.
Because this is nothing like that. Yes, okay, we will get to that, but I will actually come back and refer to this again.
Okay.
This is nothing like that. This is nothing in that sense of bodyguard guarding a wrestler. In the sense that it's not the same thing. There's history here, whereas there's no history there, especially the stuff with Chris Statlander. Again, back to something we will get back to in a second. But as far as like that goes, I mean, we can see where the pieces are aligning in between here. So I think that there's somebody else that may actually intertwine in this, but right now it's like slipping my mind. But I know there is somebody else that'll be involved in this.
I mean, wherever they go with the direction that we're going to see, I'm intrigued. And I mean, I've always liked Raquel. I thought she was a tremendous talent. And I mean, like you mentioned, it makes sense. So I think a lot of people that were crapping it was DQ. It was the right way to go to reintroduce Raquel Rodriguez into the fold. So I thought that was sweet. I think Damian and Finn, really the only thing I could say about that is it was good. It was very hard hitting. And you knew Carlito and JD McDonough were going to get involved. But even with the odds of the coup de grace onto the back multiple times, Damian Priest getting that victory with the South of Heaven on Finn Balor, that was well done. And speaking of well done, and I know I mentioned that quickly, but that was the gist of the match, because the match that everybody was talking about, Mr. Palmer.
I didn't like that he lost.
Who, Finn Balor, really?
Yeah, I didn't like that he lost.
Yeah.
Because here, I'm gonna say this right now, because it doesn't make them strong. You have to make them strong. You can't just, yeah, I mean, and mind you, I'm not the one that's booking all this. So again, I'll go back to, I get it. It's those two now against 6, now that's in the group. So, if we're going to end up getting, this at a Survivor Series, if we're going to get Judgment Day versus
Rhea and
Rhea
Damian.
Yeet, inside of a Survivor Series, there has to be somebody else that goes along with it. So in my mind, I'm just thinking, like, where does this go? I think if you wanted to make them strong and you wanted to continue to build the Judgment Day strong, you had to have you needed Finn to beat Damian tonight. But that didn't happen. It's literally the numbers game didn't work, even though it works for the bloodline, but it won't work for the Judgment Day. So make that make sense.
I will actually add on to your point, Mr. Paul Morales. So, and my predictions going into this, that this was the only one I got wrong, folks. I wanted Finn too. I was thinking, okay, we're going to continue this. It makes sense for Finn to win.
Had we did predictions, that's what I would have done too. I would have exactly done the exact same thing. So yeah, we're together. Unagi. Yeah.
Yes. So Finn losing, for me, it was one of those things where it's like, okay, it should have continued with this because, Rhea and Damian got the win at the last show at Bash in Berlin. So Finn needs a victory here, but they went the way that it did. So, I mean, if we're going to get a War Games out of this, fine. But I think in this particular scenario, Finn should have won. But otherwise, the match was what it was, and it was what it needed to be from the stance of overcoming the odds, which I understand.
Yeah, because if this is going to be something in Survivor Series, then Judgment Day has to win in Survivor Series. That's just my plan, my idea, not plan. That's just my thoughts and my feelings, because you've already made them lose back-to-back PLEs. So when do they get to win? I mean, you give Drew a win, Punk a win. Why is it that you couldn't go back-to-back with somebody else? I mean, I get it. Nia won at SummerSlam. Nia won last this time. So I get it, but still in my mind, I'm thinking for this particular feud, going back and forth wouldn't be a bad thing. Especially going back and forth with wins wouldn't be a bad thing.
No, not at all. And I mean, it just makes you more hyped now as we go onto the road to Survivor Series, and especially we have Crown Jewel coming up in 4 weeks. But one of the matches, two. We'll start with this one because what a way to open up this doggone show. Drew McIntyre and CM Punk Hell in a Cell. There were wrenches, there were tables, there were chairs, there was blood, there was everything thrown at you but the kitchen sink. These two, if this was any way to end a blood feud, literally and figuratively speaking, this was it. He took the friggin' remainders of the bracelet and shoved it down his throat, wrapped the chain around his leg, and hit the GTS for the 1, 2, 3. Drew McIntyre took this 6-spot ass first onto the friggin' steps after missing a Claymore kick, and I felt that. It was painful. these two are going to be feeling it for the next few days. And then CM Punk wound up collapsing in the middle of the ramp there. Had to give him some oxygen, but CM Punk came out the winner. And I don't want to hear anybody talking crap about CM Punk, like phoning it in or whatever, or what have you, with how he was in AEW to now. This man worked his ass off. Drew McIntyre worked his ass off. And this was the culmination of an amazing 9 months. That's literally what it was.
I'm going to start with this.
Hit me.
From taking the shot with the freaking with the wrench.
Oh,
taking the suplex off of the onto the damn table, onto the damn floor, banging his head up against the Hell in a Cell itself. Not to mention the steel steps that were in the ring. Not to mention actually getting thrown into the exact same steps,
right?
Getting hit with a freaking wrench, getting hit with a freaking with the damn toolbox. I mean, literally, they threw everything at each other. Oh, not to mention the chairs.
The chairs.
Now, look, we're talking about literally what our idea is of a Hell in a Cell match. Bad blood, literally, blood was flowing. Drew reminded me so much. As soon as that blood started coming out, it took me back to Eddie Guerrero.
Yes,
that time when he cut his head open, and he cut it too much.
Yeah, him and JBL from Judgment Day 04. Yep.
Yeah, and it was like he cut himself too much with the damn razor, and I was like, oh my god, it's just like coming out, and you see it, and now it's not Eddie where every time his heart was beating it, pulsating, and it like shooting blood out of his head, but still in that mindset, it's still blood coming down his face. Same thing as soon as we started seeing the blood coming down Punk's face, I'm like, oh my god, this is not PG. We're no longer in the realm of PG anymore. Like, we got what we got, and not only was Drew cut open once, he was cut open twice, and not in the same spot. That was the best part.
I liked the fact, like you mentioned, like bleeding in both parts of his side of his head. But if this is what we were going to get, we needed it. I even looked at it. I'm like, they keep talking about they're going to make each other bleed. They both have to bleed in this. It was a blood feud that ended a culmination of 9 months. But everything that they did, this, again, is the feud of the year for me. And we're not even at December yet. But for me, this is the feud of the year. Like
3 matches, 9 months, 3 matches, and literally look at what we've gotten.
Right. I'm interested to see where Punk goes from here. Do we go with, I know he said we'll see Braun Breaker soon when he was on NXT, and Braun Breaker's now a babyface looking to go after Gunther. So the World Championship title picture is going to be very interesting to see. Drew McIntyre, where does he go from here? But I really like both of these guys shined, and this was the match of the night for me. Now, the main event, I will say, of Mr. Cody Rhodes and Roman Reigns against Solo and Jacob Fatu. First of all, Cody doing the splash through the table onto Jacob Fatu was nuts. The fact that they started with like, are you going to start? Are you going to start? And then them just the storytelling and how it built to where we got to. It's typical Bloodline storytelling of starting off slow and then we get up to here. Personally, I love the fact how Jimmy returned, much like he did when he turned on Jay at SummerSlam last year when Roman was going against Jay. Super kicks the Tongans, and then Roman pins Solo with the spear after only one spear, 1, 2, 3.
Yeah.
Cody is hurt in the corner, and then Roman's like, I'll see you down the road. And then the Tongans beat up Cody, and then Jimmy's looking like, hey, man, you said you gave him his word. You gave him your word. And then he came out and helped Jimmy and Roman helped out Cody. And then the music hit. If you smell what the Rock is cooking, it's cooking. Friggin' Hollywood Rock comes out with the Brahma Bull Championship. The man doesn't say anything. All he does is and walked out. That was the perfect ending. The man didn't even say anything. He just stood there and did that notion, and that was it. And for me, that meant 3 casualties. Roman, Jimmy, Cody. I cannot wait to see where we go now that the final boss is back. What were your thoughts on the main event?
I thought it was pretty interesting. I honestly thought there was going to be I honestly thought maybe Hikala was going to show up.
Right.
And I know he's going to NXT, but still, in my mind, I was kind of thinking like maybe he'll show up. But it was good to see Jimmy back. It was good to see that Jimmy aligning with Roman. Kind of thought maybe Jacob was actually going to turn
Mhm.
because of all those little hint drops that we've been getting of him kind of looking at Solo, kind of, and him kind of like saying, I love you, my tribal chief, and him kind of giving them the side eye, you know, bombastic side eye like that. But anyways, it's just like you see it and you kind of have those little hints of him turning, but he didn't get it. We got The Rock back, we got Jimmy back, everybody kind of like cohesive.
Yeah,
We
I
shall
mean,
see. We'll see what happens come Survivor Series.
to add on to your point, dude, I even like that subtlety, intricacy, and nuance at the beginning where Jacob and Cody were going out, and then Soul's like, "What the hell are you doing?" You know what I'm saying? And get your ass out of here. And then Roman's looking at him like, "Oh, was that how I used to be when I was the tribal chief?" It was like a moment of clarity, so to speak. So you added a lot of layers to this match, and like I said, from start to finish, this show, if you've not watched Bad Blood, go back and watch the replay because every single match had a story. Everything was solid tonight. Like great 5 matches. Like I said, we love the formula of quality over quantity. And we'll talk about and preview next week's Wrestle Dream show from AEW that we'll talk about, of course, next week. But
I actually have one take. I actually saw some people. I saw some people on X that were actually complaining about Drew and Punk because of how slow paced the matches. But I was trying to come to turn out. I was trying to figure out what they were talking about, and I believe I don't know who posted it. Might have been Wrestle Ops that posted it or had asked what they thought of the match, and then you saw some people that in the thread that were like, "Oh, it was so slow paced. It wasn't really. It was a good match, but it wasn't like as great of like Shawn and Triple H." And they started like throwing, like comparing, contrasting like a bunch of different matches. But here's what got me.
Mhm.
You've had 9 months to tell a story. If it's slow paced, guess what? You just had literally a slow paced, slow build for 9 months to have 3 matches, 3 epic matches between 2 great freaking talkers on the damn microphone, and they're telling their stories slowly in the ring. So it's like if you're watching this and you're expecting them to kind of do some high flying whatever, dude, that's not what this is. This is literally a story being told in the ring at a slow pace. Why? Because that's what we got for this entire feud was a slow build to get to 3 epic matches, and it settled with this one being so fucking awesome. And I have to admit, it ranks up there with Triple H and Shawn Michaels, Hell in a Cell. And that one went just over 47 minutes.
Dude, Bad Blood 04. For those who've never seen that match, go back and watch it. That match was fantastic. That ended that.
The low blow reminded me so much of what Triple H on to Shawn Michaels. That's what it took me back to. As soon as he's like no, and all of a sudden, boom! I was like, "Yep, that's what it took me back to." I'm sorry, but if you ever go back and watch that match too, because that one was epic.
And to add on to your point about the slow pace, like they started with just they walked up to each other, they stared each other down. It was a moment. They soaked it up, they soaked it in, and then they fought. The problem that I have with people like that, and we'll tie this in because of what happened this week, but I look at it like this: like, what did y'all expect? You want to build it up before we get to pop, 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 pop. And this ties into people with the slow pace because what happened this week on Dynamite, Ricochet and Will Ospreay did their Super Juniors 2016 callback match, is what I call it. And then the booking of this. So Will Ospreay hits his, the heat, whatever that, what the hell's the move called? The friggin' the thing where he hits him like with the forearm or whatever the hell it's called, whatever it is. So
that damn move right there, whatever the hell it is.
Whatever the hell it was. I know somebody's gonna be like, oh, it's called this, but Will Ospreay's move. Not the Storm Zero, the other one. So Will Ospreay hits the move on Ricochet, and it's a double pin. 1, 2, 3. They counted both the shoulders down, and then everybody's chanting 5 more minutes, and then they restart the match, and then instantly it's a flippin' DQ because here comes Takeshita hitting Ricochet and Will Ospreay after Kyle Fletcher and Don Callis left the building. Why didn't we just have like a DQ in the first place? Did we really need to do the draw or just a draw and then the DQ, or we could have just had one or the other? But they overbooked it, and now we have a triple threat match at Wrestle Dream for the international title. What were your thoughts on the callback match?
I think if you look at the match in general, I mean, yeah, you want to go back to the Super Juniors, you want to go back to Rev Pro, and that's fine. But I've constantly said this. Bully Ray, thank you. Also, another person that also said this, Dave LaGreca, also said the exact same thing. If you don't have a story and people are not going to be interested, you have to have some sort of substance to a story. And you can, and I get it. They have a history. Yes, they do. But you have to allow it to build. Like if they had one interaction backstage, all of a sudden it's like later on in the show, oh, well, we're going to get this one at 5th anniversary, Dynamite's 5th anniversary show. And it's like, so at a one interaction, now you're going to have them face each other?
Again, when Brian Alvarez said, people in AEW saying Tony Khan believes in week by week booking and not long-term booking. I 100% agree. That's how Tony Khan books. And you see it like with that. That is the perfect example. And I mean, I'm going to say it because I'm pissed. So Chris Jericho does the learning tree, and we'll come back to the end of Bad Blood, but Chris Jericho in the learning tree. I didn't want to see it, but I knew we were going with it after he pinned Mark Briscoe. So Wrestle Dream, we're going to get Chris Jericho versus Mark Briscoe for the Ring of Honor World Championship. He brought up Jay Briscoe in the promo. I'm going to tell you right now, I know how Tony is, and we're coming upon the 3-year anniversary of when he beat Claudio for the Ring of Honor World title. I think Chris Jericho is going to take that damn title at Wrestle Dream, and I am going to be pissed. Because nobody wanted this. Nobody cares about this. Nobody wants to see this. Go away, Chris. Go away.
I think Mark wins.
I hope
and I can tell you why I think Mark wins.
Go ahead.
Is because he needs a big win over somebody with a big name.
True.
Because if it's not somebody big in the company, I just think that it's for naught. I mean, if you're going to give it to Jericho, fine. Let him be a 2-time ROH champion. If you're looking for a big name to be on that, to hold that title, fine. Whatever. He could go back to being the Ocho again. Fine. If we're going to get that crazy ass one from New Japan, fine.
The Painmaker,
yeah, the Painmaker, whatever. I mean, I want to see a good match. I mean, in my mind, it's like if Mark needs a huge win against a marquee name, it should be against Jericho. But if you're just gonna fuck it all up and just hand Jericho the damn belt, then Mark's run as champion was for naught.
My thing too is, first of all, I like your scenario, and I hope that's the scenario that they go with. But it's just like, again, we've mentioned it many times on this show. It's not hatred for Chris Jericho. It's just I'm frustrated because I'm tired of Chris Jericho. The matches that he's had have been piss poor. They suck. And I mean, if you look at this card, Jack Perry and Katsuyori Shibata. Literally, Jack Perry beats Minoru Suzuki on Collision. Shibata makes the save, and then Shibata comes out on Dynamite. Oh, let's have a match at Wrestle Dream. That's literally the build. It's because it's Inoki and it's dedicated to Inoki. Tony wants to get the Japanese talent on there. So Jack Perry and Shibata, all right. Okay, like whatever. I mean, Darby Allin tonight, his open challenge was answered by Brody King, and I mean, they've had history before, so whatever. We mentioned the triple threat. Are you excited for the Young Bucks and Private Party because they pinned Matt Jackson the same way that they did in Dynamite Episode 2? And I mean, my thing is this, like, you totally negate the Acclaim, too, right? Like, the Acclaim were coming, and now the Acclaimed is feuding with the fucking Maximum Male Models, for God's sake, over friggin' the stupid jacket or whatever, Platinum Max Caster's attire. Are you excited for the Young Bucks and Private Party?
We've seen some dumb gimmick matches, dumb reasons why they have matches in AEW.
Yeah.
So them fighting over a damn jacket makes sense, I guess, in the mind of Tony, right?
Well, I'll give you one better. Remember when friggin' Miro came in and Miro and Kip Sabian were feuding with Orange Cassidy and the Best Friends over fucking video games?
Exactly.
Thank you. Yeah, I guess that makes sense. But yeah, Young Bucks and
exactly.
Young Bucks and Private Party should be fine. With what they're doing now, and you saw Stokely Hathaway out of nowhere, like watch it. Like why is Stokely Hathaway in this? And we're gonna get.
Oh,
Why? I don't want to see him be the manager of Private Party. Like, what are we doing? And I'll get to Chris Statlander in a minute, but
no, let's get to Stokely and I'll go down. Hold on, continue on with what you were saying. We'll get to Stokely in a second.
Okay, so the other matches on this card, and I mean, we'll do predictions next week, which is fine. We'll give our thoughts. But out of mothballs on the pre-show is Atlantis Jr., not Atlas Jr., Atlantis Jr. against Brian Cage for the Ring of Honor World Television Championship. What? What? All right, sure. And then we have Mariah May against Britt Baker. Well, all right, hold on here. Now this is where Mariah May literally looked at Willow Nightingale without saying, it's like, who the fuck are you? Like, you've literally been losing. What, are you going to challenge me so you can lose again? Like, she has lost. Willow Nightingale has not won. She lost to Mercedes. She lost to Statlander. Why is Chris Statlander not getting this fucking title shot? We'll get to that. But Mariah May, literally the feud with Willow Nightingale is Mariah May beats Yuka Sakazaki. And then Willow Nightingale comes out, and then you hear Excalibur on commentary with the throwaway line. Oh, Willow Nightingale and Yuka Sakazaki are friends. Gee, thanks for telling me. I didn't know that until you just said that. So we have a feud as a stopgap to when we get Mina Shirakawa finally being like the confliction of, oh, she's my friend, I love her, to I really don't like the way she's acting, before we get back to Mariah May and Mina Shirakawa and Mariah May and Toni Storm and that whole escapade. But it's just like, it's going to be her, Dr. Britt Baker, because Britt Baker beat Serena Deeb on Dynamite, and I'm like, Britt Baker literally just lost to Mercedes Moné, and I'm just like, this makes no fucking sense, but okay. But my guess is we're going to get Mercedes Moné and Willow Nightingale, and Britt Baker's going to lose. Bryan Danielson and Moxley, they're doing Wheeler Yuta and Bryan Danielson, with Wheeler Yuta supporting and really standing by Bryan Danielson, his mentor, against Moxley and Claudio next week. But there's a part of me that think that there's a swerve like Vince Russo, bro, where friggin' Wheeler Yuta's going to turn on Bryan Danielson, and it's all a ruse, so to speak, because you know how Tony loves the swerves. And then, and the other matchup is that's the only matches, excuse me. But yeah, this card, I'm just like, all right. And it's not like I hate this card and I don't hate AEW, but I look at the product and compare and contrast where 2019, right? We just came off the 5-year anniversary of Dynamite, right? We're like, okay, this is the new thing in town. WWE's cold. And then 5 years later, this product is cold as fucking ice. And you're just like, whatever. And then you see WWE, it's like, it's night and day. It's just like opposite. You know what I'm saying? It's like opposite day for 5 years. And Tony Khan is the integral part of that opposite day. So
I think we go back to what that interview with Darby Allin.
Right.
And I go back to him talking about WWE being Taylor Swift and AEW being Slayer. So we kind of look at it like that. Yes, night and day. Yes, because Taylor Swift is pop and Slayer is obviously heavy metal. So It's night and day. But in the aspect of like, you look at everything that's going to happen at Wrestle Dream. Now I'm going to go back to what we said at the beginning, talking about Will Ospreay and Ricochet. So shout out to Dave LaGreca, because on Friday's episode of Busted Open, he actually told Thunder Rosa specifically that the match that should have taken place on the 5th anniversary show, it should have been the opener, should have been her and Britt Baker. Why? Because they had such an epic, of all the matches that have, women's matches that have made an impact on the show and in AEW, that one in particular is one that stands out over anything. We've already talked about 5-star matches last week. We talked about the matches that are unforgettable, the ones that we remember. That one, and we talk about the matches in AEW that we remember. That one for the women, respectively, is one that I can never forget, because that one was so outstanding between two awesome competitors inside of a steel cage, and what they did and beat the shit out of each other was so fucking awesome. Shout out to Thunder Rosa, Mi amor, you are fucking awesome in that damn ring. I wish Tony respected you a lot more.
Agreed wholeheartedly. Now I have to add the other point to this before we get. All right. Well, before we get to Chris and Stokely, I need to mention this to you because the big announcement on Dynamite from MVP was he has, his, director kind of like operations, his business consultant, if you will. Welcome to AEW, Shelton Benjamin. As we are starting to get the Hurt Syndicate back into fruition, he gave the card to Mercedes Moné. So my guess is they're going to turn the Hurt Syndicate into MVP, Shelton Benjamin, Mercedes Moné, and we're going to have Swerve turn on Nana, and Swerve is going to be a part of the new Hurt business, the Hurt Syndicate. Your thoughts on seeing Shelton Benjamin?
It was good, and apparently we officially got, according to Sean Ross Sapp and Fightful, that Bobby Lashley actually signed with AEW. Also, so breaking news. Yep. But anyways, not that is breaking news. I mean, of course, we ain't breaking no news. So, but that's the news coming out of this week. Of course, him signing, when he'll show up, probably Wrestle Dream is probably looking at more or less like where he'll show up at. If not this Wednesday's Dynamite, maybe. Anyways, like as far as I'm concerned, it's like it's good that they're branching out and they're getting, they want to get recognized where they want to get recognized, and if Black excellence is what they're looking for, and cool, I'm all for it. But if Tony doesn't have anything for them, or Tony's, of course, what he does, what are we gonna get? But I hope that they get what they want from Tony, what apparently they weren't getting in WWE.
I think with Bobby Lashley, I mean, we've seen him in TNA, we've seen him all over the place from WWE, and now his mark in AEW with this new Hurt Syndicate. I mean, I'm curious to see what they do. I think a lot of the stuff that they're doing is a lot of the retread of what we saw that was successful in WWE, and now they want to recreate that. But, I mean, hey, I'm here for it. I'm open to a lot of this stuff, but we shall see with the rise of Bobby Lashley and the Hurt Syndicate in AEW. So, all right, before we get into Chris, just because it's been making me laugh, and the fact that we followed up with it tonight on Collision with, making the impressions and the dynamic between Statlander, Camille, and Mercedes Moné. Now, your thoughts on Stokely Hathaway scouting Private Party when he's with Chris Statlander, but he's not really with Chris Statlander? What were your thoughts on that? Get to Stokely, man.
Yeah, that's the craziest shit. No, we'll get to Stokely in a second. Let me start with Chris.
Okay.
What's interesting is that somebody posted it on IG that said that she's no longer a heel, now she's a babyface, which we don't even know when the hell the change happened, but apparently it happened without anybody even noticing. So now now she's a face, or now she's a babyface, and Stokely is no longer with her. So that's the reason why she's going after
Mercedes.
Because you apparently needed somebody to face Mercedes, which could have been Willow if you actually pushed her that way. Then again, it probably could have been Britt Baker if you really would have fucking wanted it to. Or then again, it probably could have been anybody else of them. But it's interesting that Tony does this shit. We already know. This is something he does so unconsciously, and it sucks. And it's like, how are people supposed to get invested in these fucking individuals? Let's literally, today they were heel. They were going after this person. Following week, all of a sudden, it was like Stokely's gone, and yet she's face to face with Camille. What the hell does that?
I'm gonna play the clip. Here we go.
The biggest, the toughest, the strongest. My match is next.
And you better watch, bitch.
Again, this literally came out of nowhere.
Makes absolutely no fucking sense. None whatsoever.
Okay.
Not one fucking iota does that shit make sense.
Again.
How literally she was going against Willow Nightingale. Was she not just in an interaction with Willow Nightingale not just 2 weeks ago?
Okay, I got to add on to your point, because this is where here's where it pisses me off even more. So she attacked Willow, and the implications of where it was going to go was she wanted the CMLL Women's Championship that Willow was holding. But what did they do? They had her lose to Zuzix in Mexico, and now that is out the fucking window. And now Willow Nightingale's going after Mariah May. And now Chris Statlander, who just had a blood feud and beat Willow Nightingale in a Chicago street fight, and everything that we just had there. Now, all of a sudden, she's in an interaction with Camille that makes no doggone sense. And now she's apparently a babyface and going after Mercedes Monday, where I could also see the fact that even though it makes no sense because Chris Statlander was the one who turned on Willow after she lost to Mercedes. I don't know. Don't get me started. But now you literally out of mothballs just turn Chris Statlander babyface for no fucking reason because, can you see the strength and the have Chris Statlander and Camille? Oh my God. And I'm like, that's great. But I'd like to actually see something build to why we're going to get this and just, here it is. Like, for example, this Wednesday night on Dynamite for Title Wednesday or Title Tuesday, excuse me, because they're going head to head with NXT. We got Mercedes Monday against Emi Sakura for the TBS Championship. What? What? Like Emi Sakura? What
Again, back to shit that don't make sense.
No sense.
I will put this in the file under shit that don't make sense.
No sense. Literally, I'll go to the messages that I have with Paul because I have to just put it. I wrote this, and here's what Paul wrote back to me. Exactly. Makes absolutely no sense. Paul Morales, quote of 2024. Makes absolutely no fucking sense. This is what they give us. They give us fucking Statlander and Camille out of fucking mothballs because Tony doesn't know how to book. Tony doesn't know how to book, and nobody will say it.
You're taking cues from Jeff Jarrett. Good Lord. I'm not saying that Jeff Jarrett is horrible at fucking booking, but it's like I don't even know he takes Vince Russo's fucking playbook from booking. It's just like I said, none of it makes any fucking sense. If you're just trying to do this for the sake of fucking doing it, fine. Do it for the sake of fucking doing it, but at least tell people, hey, look, I have no fucking idea what the fuck I'm doing. Hell, I'm just going to fucking throw these people together just for the sake of fucking throwing them together.
My sentiments...
For fuck's sake, Tony, fucking do something right.
My sentiments exactly, but the other point I'd like to add to the women, okay, I have nothing against this woman, but Queen Aminata... Why is Queen Aminata helping out and being a part of that division? Queen Aminata, who's mostly on Collision and Wrestling and Ring of Honor. And again, you could have Athena on this fucking program, but no, we got to keep Athena down in fucking Ring of Honor. You have nobody for Mercedes to go against, so you have her going against Statlander. I don't know, how about Jamie Hayter, who just beat Saraya? What the fuck happened to Jamie Hayter? You literally set up at the pay-per-view from last one in Chicago, what Mariah May attacking Sky Blue. So now Sky Blue, I'm guessing, is now she was literally a heel. The last time I saw Sky Blue was she was like, oh, hey, Mercedes, by the way, remember when he got attacked in the room during the interview? Oh, yeah, that was me. And that was what we got the last time with Sky fucking Blue. And now she's a babyface because she was in her hometown and she got attacked by Mariah May. So now you turn the dark Sky Blue. Julia Hart. I will take Julia Hart when she comes back against Mercedes Moné over Statlander because all these fucking people
again, back to women who are on this fucking roster who could face fucking Mercedes.
But
yet Jamie Hayter, again, former WWE, former AEW Women's World Champion, who all of a sudden should be in that fucking category. Yes, she was away, with injury, but goddamn, put somebody who is legitimately can wrestle this woman. Again, back to things that make sense. Toni Storm would have been fucking better at this. Why is Toni Storm not getting a women's world title match? Why? You can give it to Jon Moxley, you can give it to Bryan Danielson, you can give it to every other fucking guy, but yet give it to the women. All of a sudden it's like, oh hey, I have a fucking brain fart. Oh well, who should I put here? Oh wait, this person didn't get a shot at the title. Remember, rankings matter. Yeah. Remember when rankings used to matter in fucking AEW? Oh yeah, I remember those things.
Oh, it makes no sense. Okay, and then the other thing we'll mention before we move on to...
I think we're just ranting at this point.
No, before we move to Uncle Dave and we'll get into the TV stuff. with that, and then we'll talk about the aftermath of Bad Blood to close the show. Fucking Hook. So Taz gets attacked before Dynamite. Nigel takes his spot, and Hook is like, I'm gonna find out who did this. And then literally afterwards, you see Christian Cage cut a promo, and he legit says in it, hook, line, and sinker. And who goes after people's dads? Christian Cage. So my guess is that Christian Cage is the one who attacked Hook, or Hook is the one who attacked his own father to turn heel. So what are your thoughts on, the whole Hook scenario?
You know what? If it makes no sense for Hook to battle his own father.
Yeah, it makes no fucking sense.
This isn't like Luke Skywalker going after fucking Darth Vader.
Right.
It's nothing like that. His dad doesn't wrestle. So make it make sense. I mean, like, again, back to the dumb shit that Tony does just for the sake of fucking doing it. Why are you going to retire a fucking title, give it to your dad? You have that moment with him, then all of a sudden attack him in the fucking back in the parking lot or wherever, backstage or whatever.
Yeah,
back to the shit that Tony does that doesn't make sense.
That was Dynamite this week, ladies and gentlemen, and you wonder why this show got 680,000 viewers on fucking Wednesday.
Oh, hold on. Okay, so now you're going to get to Dave.
Yeah,
we are going to get to Dave, and before we get to Dave and him start talking about the ratings and everything,
I know where you want me to go.
Him pointing out how there was Major League Baseball, or how there was this and there was that and this was going on. Dave, I'm sorry, but if fans want to watch something, they will watch it. If they think it's intriguing, they will watch it. Not for the sake of the fact that sports is on and sports does happen all the time.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I don't know. Monday Night Raw pulled in over 1 million people, and guess what was on Monday?
Football.
Not one, but 2 Monday Night Football games. So don't give me that shit, Dave.
It's the pot calling the kettle black.
I rest my case.
Before I get to his actual post, but we got to do this one first because Dave had some things to say about podcasters. He's talking about people like you and me, Paul. People like just
you got shit to talk about me, motherfucker. I will fucking cut you.
So here is him and Brian Alvarez.
I had a little announcement I wanted to make, but maybe I'll just have to wait till the Garrett show for that.
An announcement?
Well, no, just like a lot of people, like a lot of dumb shits got really exposed, when this.
Oh no, yeah, save that for the Garrett show.
Because it's not like this came out of nowhere. We've been talking about this for months. I've been telling people. I've been telling them. I go like, you better freaking pivot because you're going to look like fools if this deal comes in the way it looks it's going to come in. And none of them could stop. They're so deep into it. They've been lying to their podcast listeners for God knows how long, or they're just dumb shits. But I think in most cases, they're out of touch. They're out of touch. Maybe lying, maybe not, but out of touch. Yeah. You know what?
It would be interesting if Dave listens to us. That would be totally fucking awesome. All right, Dave. Thank you for listening to us. Yes, we're a bunch of nobodies, but hey, you know what? At least we're getting to speak our piece.
Yes, we're all a bunch of dumb shits about the friggin' TV deal because it finally came into fruition after friggin' nothing, which we'll get into. But it's just like, Dave, like, you legit lie all the fucking time on your fucking show. Like, literally, like, and you make excuses for this company that you love because you love just some pure wrestling over story. And I mean, let's call a spade a spade. He is very biased for AEW because then that brings us to this. So look at the compare and contrast here. What he said about NXT, it did 895K, which Shawn Michaels even touted the number with a 0.26 last night. Premiere usually is much higher than the show settles in at. Week 3 to 4 is when you really get a better feel for it. Okay. And then AEW did 680K, 0.20, going 30 plus minutes long, hurt, but 2 baseball playoff games and larger than usual news ratings. Go ahead.
Okay, so you're going to compare this to a national debate between the vice presidents, between vice presidential nominees,
right,
and one baseball game.
Correct.
Now, Dave, Here's the thing. So Monday Night Raw pulls in over 1 million people, and they had not one but 2 football games to compete with.
Correct.
Not only that, they actually had a doubleheader in Major League Baseball that same day. So guess what, Dave? They still pulled in 1 million fucking viewers. That's not the exact same thing. If for some godforsaken chance that people did not want to watch AEW. Why? Because they weren't interested in it. Now, mind you, 600, a little more than 600K people wanted to watch it. Hell, I was one.
Yep.
I admit, I watched it. And I got bored. Because halfway through it, it started to make no damn sense. We just reiterated what we spoke about. All of a sudden, Chris Statlander turning a baby face in front of our eyes. How not because it was necessary, but because Tony just didn't want to book anyone else other than Chris Statlander versus Mercedes Moné. So make sense, Dave.
Again, I look at it like this, and we talk about the debate. I'm going to say this right now. NXT drawing 895,000. I honestly believe with how stacked that this show was, and we'll get into NXT now, how stacked that this show was, if the debate was not on, I fully believe that they would have gotten 1 million views. I think they would have gotten over 1 million views because this show, the start of the show and how many viewers it attracted for Roxanne Perez versus Julia was just, my goodness, over 900 something K. For me, I'm going to say this, I'm going to get into NXT before we get into the other stuff and the ongoings with the TV deal. Roxanne Perez.
Pause for a second. See, no, not the show, but I mean, hold on a second.
Okay.
We'll talk about the start time for the debate. Didn't start until 6 p.m.
Correct.
West, 9 p.m. on the East. So
yep.
The fact that this show started at 5 p.m. out here, 8 on the East, just goes to show that people were more intrigued at what happened in NXT. The fact that it was a premiere episode, and mind you, that it only dropped just a little bit, and it wasn't like it had a considerable drop. Much like, and you could do this whole the difference between West Coast and East Coast. All of a sudden, you could say about the East Coast feed and then the West Coast feed being different, and you can do whatever hoopla you want to say, but it does make a difference, but at the same time, it doesn't make a difference because people are going to watch it whether they watch it live or they watch it delayed at any point in time. So if people are going to get the feed, now mind you, I don't get the CW out here is completely different. We get it West Coast time, but I know people on the East Coast who actually throw this shit up on TikTok. So that's how I watched it.
Right.
So if you want to say some viewers are watching it at a one specific time or another specific time, then fine. Then say that. But the good thing about this deal for AEW is that it makes sense for them.
Now, for me, and we have it up here, folks, AEW to stream on Max following new multi-year rights deal with Warner Brothers Discovery. First and foremost, I'm happy that they got the TV deal. I'm happy that they got what they're getting. Good for them that they're still going to be on TBS and TNT, and they have that relationship with Warner Brothers. You didn't want to see them not have a TV deal, but it's just like, what are we doing here? Let's go here because we're still waiting to hear about this TV deal. We're tired of hearing about it. Now you have it, boom. But now with the addition of Max, what are your thoughts on the fact that we're going to get new multi-rights deal with Warner Brothers to stream on Max? I think there's going to be a discounted price than what we normally get with the $50, but what are your thoughts on them going to Max now?
I would have liked them to just include their pay-per-views on there because it still would have made them money. And you're also going to make Warner Brothers money. You're going to make money hand over fist if you're looking for profitability, which that's what they were looking for. You were going to get it. Okay. So you get a lot of those through subscriptions, which is pretty much what WWE is going to do with Netflix. So the fact that you're moving Raw from here to the streaming platform what's going to happen is that Netflix is going to get a boost in freaking rating in subscriptions if you don't already have it already. In my mind, I'm thinking, okay, if you're going to do it at a discount price, $10 a freaking a pay-per-view. Don't give me this, oh, well, we're going to do it half price of the $50. No, because I'm not going to pay $25 for every damn pay-per-view.
Right.
I'll watch it illegally. I am sorry, I will watch it illegally. Look, Tony, I will say it. I will watch it illegally. And I don't care, because until you put on a fucking good ass show, I will continue to watch it illegally. I spoke my piece, but it's good. Okay, here's the good part.
Okay.
Here's the plus part is that if on the East Coast feed, you can watch it on Max live from the East Coast on the West Coast. So you can watch it, it'll stream all the way across. But it on TBS and TNT, it'll still show at its regular time out here. But you can stream it at the time that it shows on the East Coast.
True. And I think, like you mentioned, it's like we talk about the quality of pay-per-views. It's like, for me too, $25, half price, but it's just like, until you put on like a show that's, making me like want to get interested into it. I mean, I'm like you and folks, again, it's not that we hate it. We're frustrated with their product, but it's a case of we watch these shows every week, and about halfway through we get bored because either it don't make no sense, or it's just like, okay, whatever, here's such and such against such and such. And that's the difference. If that's a lot of what we get with the pay-per-views too. So, I mean, it's great that they have this deal, but let's make it like you want to get this deal. Like WWE with what they're doing in Peacock with Netflix, Raw is going to be 2 hours until the end of the year. SmackDown may add a third hour going to Netflix. There's stuff that's really intriguing about what they're doing with USA and CW respectively. So again, it goes back to make me get invested and make me get interested into this, because what I'm seeing on this side bears in comparison to what I'm seeing on this side. So I'm happy for them, but at the same time,
I am genuinely happy for them. I want them to succeed. Now, I've said this constantly so many fucking times. Like, I want this company to succeed. I don't want it to just be WWE all the damn time. Like, we love wrestling. We love watching wrestling, and we love watching a variety of companies and a variety of wrestlers from across the platform. It doesn't matter. It's wrestling. We love it. But at the same time, if it doesn't make sense to us I'll give you for instance.
Right.
I don't follow New Japan, but I will watch Wrestle Kingdom at 1 a.m. my time, because now, mind you, I'm still picking boogers out my eyes while I'm fucking watching it. But hey, at the same time, I may fall asleep somewhere in between there, but hey, I'll watch it again, later on in the day. But that doesn't mean that I hate wrestling or I hate New Japan. Like, I will watch it for the wrestling. I will watch it for the entertainment, for the entertainment factor, because it's wrestling. But if you're just going to put together matches for the sake of putting together matches, this isn't even week to week. This is day to day. This isn't one of those I'm booking week to week. No, you're booking it day to day. That's literally what you're doing.
I mean,
there's no long-term storytelling in this place. It's just like, I'll book it today. All right, well, I'll get this on Wednesday. All right, well,
cool.
All right.
So to add on to your point about New Japan, so first of all, that airs at 4 a.m. my time when you guys get the pre-show, and then you get into the actual event, which is fucking 5 hours. The thing too is like that with New Japan,
but that's fast paced though.
Yes.
It's you get the matches, they end, and all of a sudden they go out like literally out the other end of the stage, and then all of a sudden it's like the next match.
Yes.
It's not like AEW to where we have like this progressive like lull in between, and all of a sudden it's like they got to walk all the way back up the ramp or walk all the way out, and then all of a sudden it's like we get a little bit of commentary, then all of a sudden the next match. But that's not what it is. Right. We don't get that.
Well, that's the only thing I really watch on New Japan is either Wrestle Kingdom when they used to do the G1 Climax that would air. I would watch that. But yeah, mostly just Wrestle Kingdom. I'll tune in. But yeah, it is what it is. And I mean, that's Tony's presentation. He wants to book every pay-per-view like it's a fucking Wrestle Kingdom. We mentioned it last week. That's his ideology of how he books, like it's a fucking New Japan pay-per-view. And I mean, speaking of shows, when pay-per-views, we have more to come from Bad Blood in a little bit, but I wanted to touch base on NXT because we mentioned Roxanne and Julia. There were people that were pissed that Julia did not win. We saw Cora Jade make her return and screw Julia out of the match with Roxanne retaining. First and foremost, I say to you people, because we mentioned the comparisons with Asuka and her gear and being the Japanese talent, much like an Asuka, an Io, a Kairi, however you want to define it. But I look at it like this. Asuka's first feud, she didn't go for the women's championship. That was down the line. Asuka's first feud was with fucking Dana Brooke and Emma, for God's sake. Julia does not need to win the title out of the gate. And plus, now we have Roxanne and Stephanie Vacker. Stephanie Vacker and Roxanne, or Stephanie Vacker, Roxanne, and Julia and Cora Jade in a four-way. Either way, you have implements of that, implications, like we mentioned, and elements. But Julia versus Cora Jade for her first feud, I'm here for it. Because Cora Jade, being the leader of the women's locker room, she wants her spot. Y'all forgot about me. You want to go against her. There's a story there. So I had no problem with Julia losing to Roxanne. I thought Julia would win, but I'm okay with the result that we got out of it. And plus, it was a doggone good match. And I know you're looking forward to Julia and Cora Jade, and of course, Roxanne against Stephanie Vacker.
I'm here for it. And I mean, and the thing is like you don't realize how Cora Jade was in that spot. That was her spot. That was literally her spot before she got injured. So the fact that she came back, ruined Julia's debut, ruined her, prevented her from getting the women's title, just goes to show that, guess what? Cora Jade said, that's my title. That's my spot. I want it. So why are we mad at her for doing that? I mean, several other people have done it in the past, so it's not nothing new. But it is good. It makes for good TV in the long run.
It does. And I mean, like I mentioned, the backside of Stephanie Vacker against Roxanne and the backstory there, how she wanted the winner. I mean, you have so many elements of what we're doing with the women now. I mean, we have Kailani Jordan, who was, we saw Jada Parker and Lola Vice, which I can't wait for them to go at each other. I love that interaction with Fatal Influence. The fact that we're going to get Bianca and Jade and Kailani against Fatal Influence. Kailani Jordan against Fatal Influence is a great feud for Kailani to move on with the women's North American title. And I have to say this, I'm really looking forward to Tony D and Obafemi next week. They had a nice exchange, but one of the highlights for me before we get into the NXT Championship match, these crazy motherfuckers. Wesley and Zachary Wentz had one of the most epic street fights I've ever seen in my fucking life. Zachary Wentz went for a springboard, and Wesley threw that mofo, and he went over that table, did not break. Ow. That spot was insane.
He literally bounced off the table against the barricade. Like, it was like boom, boom, boom. Like, it was so fucking cool. They whooped each other's asses. And I said the one thing I wanted between these two for them was just to go out there and have a fucking banger of a match and just kick ass. And that's exactly what we got. That's exactly what happened. They went out there, they busted their asses against each other and literally tore the fucking house down in Chicago.
My thing too is what I really did enjoy about it is the fact that Wesley, he wrapped the chain, the Meteora, into while he's sitting on the chair, that being Zachary Wentz. This propels Wesley as we go forward for the North American title shot, world title shot. He's established as a heel. Zachary Wentz gets the TNA representation, which is wonderful to see, and also it gives you that direction with the Rascals. But my thing too is, and what I really, really love about everything that they're doing is the fact that we're, again, highlighting TNA, highlighting Wesley and Zachary Wentz. And I love the fact that what we're getting here is something that's special and it's meaningful. We always talk about story-driven within each and every one of these brands. Speaking of story-driven, there's the photos you could see here. Ethan Page says CM Punk ruined his life last night on NXT. He's been known to ruin locker rooms. Didn't know he'd ruin my life too. And as you could see, CM Punk gave out free pizza to everybody after the event, which kudos to you, Phil, and the Chicago crowd. As in case you didn't know, Trick Williams has defeated Ethan Page, 2-time NXT champion. There was an exchange where Ethan Page gave the GTS to Trick Williams right in front of Punk, and it was a 2. And then we almost saw a collision between Punk and Trick, but that it was averted. And Trick Williams hit the trick shot for the 3. Then CM Punk GTS Ethan Page, the confetti coming down to end NXT on CW. Trick Willie's back on top. Ethan Page has lost the championship. I thought it was a great way to end the show. Again, it was time for Trick to win it back. Ethan Page did a phenomenal job. He's been great thus far in his NXT run. I really thought the show went off the air with a great little happy ending.
I thought it was a great show, all in all, beginning to end. Like, it literally bookended everything. The tag team match with Cora Jade and Lola Vice. I mean, that was against Fatal.
Yeah, Jada Parker and Lola Vice against Fatal.
Yeah, that was freaking awesome. I mean, it was hilarious, but it was fucking awesome to watch them go out there and literally to showcase these young athletes. And I say athletes, and they're young wrestlers and up and coming, for NXT to be showcased the way it was. I mean, it was a great premiere for them. For a national audience who doesn't always get, who don't always watch it. I mean, people turn on CW and was like, wait, what's this? All of a sudden are drawn in by that opening match. And then you get the matches that were in the middle and bookended with that awesome freaking NXT World Championship match, and it was great. I mean, it was awesome for these young athletes, and CM Punk, of course, being there, and Pepsi Phil. Thank you, Danhausen.
For me too, and what I loved about too is we got CM Punk this week. The video package for Javon Evans and Randy Orton next week, that is going to be the coming out party for Javon. We have A-Town Down Under against Fraxium for the NXT World Tag Team Championships. We have Tony D and Obafemi for the North American Championship. The 6-woman tag, like we mentioned, Bianca, Jade, and Kailani against Fatal Influence. But there was a nice little vignette that I wanted to also mention as far as the women go, Mr. Paul Morales. We saw for Halloween Havoc, as we look to be going that direction, the debut of Delta, Mr. Paul Morales. What were your thoughts on Delta just coming to NXT?
That's going to be awesome. I hope she still hope she has those contact lenses in her eyes, and she still has that makeup on her face. Oh my God, she is such a fucking talent. If you have no idea who the hell she is, I beg you, go on YouTube, go find her, and go find her matches. She wrestled in Australia. Like, she's had so many great matches. Like, I found some that I didn't even know were like 3, 4, 5 years ago, and she's just breaking ground down there, and it was good. Apparently she did like an awesome job in her tryout for WWE when they were there in February for Elimination Chamber. So
I'm here for it, man. Again, the new crop of talent, just professional wrestling as a whole, is such a healthy environment of just seeing the next generation of many great young and talented superstars. And I mean, I will say this, we did mention AEW earlier. Let's talk about it. Luchasaurus was hospitalized this past weekend with pneumonia in both of his lungs. Fightful Select is told. He was found collapsed and rushed to the hospital. He's recovering and is on oxygen. His in-ring return is unclear at the moment. We wish him a quick recovery. Luchasaurus, speedy recovery, well wishes. I was saddened to hear that as well, as I know you were. But yeah, man, just kudos and just love to Luchasaurus, man. Health comes first above everything.
Yeah, exactly. Health, get healthy first. I mean, our thoughts and prayers are with you, my brother. I mean, just get well. Whatever lengthy time that you need to take it, and make sure you come back 100%, man.
More AEW news. This was after Dynamite. Bryan Danielson went off the air, thanked Tony Khan for basically creating AEW, giving jobs to many wrestlers, explained why he left WWE to join WWE, before saying that he'd kick Jon Moxley's head in. I had a lifetime job at WWE, and I chose to come here because there were the best wrestlers in the world, the best fans in the world, and this is the best wrestling company in the world. And here is Bryan Danielson. Well, all right, now, your thoughts on Bryan Danielson's impassioned speech?
You know what? It's his love for wrestling, and it's his love for being a wrestler and watching the wrestling fans, their reactions and everything. Yes, he everything he said, he's pretty much spot on. I mean, and everybody, especially talking about Pittsburgh, especially talking about them pushing him into being the main event at WrestleMania, and that's pretty much where he's 100% right. It's I love his enthusiasm. That's something that I've always loved about Brian. He's very passionate with his love for wrestling. And is he exactly 100% right? No. I mean, they are the second best company in America. I mean, the second best wrestling company ever. I mean, and the fact is that he's just happy to be where he's at. That's pretty much where his enthusiasm is going. And hey, if that's what he believes, then hey, cool.
I look at it like this. I mean, from where I've seen his passion Ring of Honor speech before he left to go to WWE, every time I would be when I was on Long Island going to Sports Plus watching him as Ring of Honor World's Heavyweight Champion, the dude has always had a love for professional wrestling, even before Ring of Honor. So it doesn't shock me. And as long as he's happy and he's healthy, that's the main thing. That goes with anything in life. And I mean, there's more to Bryan Danielson, as we will get into the other two big news stories that, can you say pettiness? Like Paul and I have mentioned many times before this. Here we go. We'll start with Bryan. Bryan Danielson filed to trademark the term yes, yes, yes at the end of July this year. This came to be as Bryan's manager alerted him that it was free to trademark and didn't cost much. Following the application, Bryan stated that WWE went some form of a legal letter implying that he was infringing on this or whatever, despite it being free to trademark. As of around September 20th, the trademark filing was labeled as abandoned. WWE on September 30th has filed to trademark the term. Oh my goodness. Yeah.
Petty is being petty. We're gonna go back now. The reason why this happened is because Tony Khan decided that he wanted to be petty first, and that he didn't want to let Rey Fénix out of his contract. He wanted to tack on the time that he was injured in order for him to stay with the company, which makes absolutely no sense. So Penta is a free agent and can sign anywhere, but he doesn't want to sign anywhere until his brother is a free agent. So what was initially the news of Penta and Rey Fénix going to WWE is now pretty much on hold. So when Tony Khan decided to be petty and add the time on, guess what WWE did?
They were petty back.
They went petty back. So you went high, they went low. So, or whichever way you want to look at it. They went low, they went high. So it doesn't matter which way, but somebody is doing something, and pettiness is just being petty. So
as Paul stated, AEW is tacking on injury time to Rey Fénix's contract, which is nearly but not quite 1 year. Tony Khan made Fénix and Penta significant offers to stay, but they wouldn't sign a new deal. So this is tacking on injury time that he had from 2021. It was 3 years ago, Tony. And now here we are. I mean, do you also notice WWE's comeback for this? So for those that watch SmackDown, and you and I, we're going to mention SmackDown in a minute for a particular match that involved the great Chelsea Green, and we'll get to that in a minute. But I want to mention this first because one of the big things that came out of SmackDown, besides what we talked about here at Bad Blood, there was a vignette for coming soon. And well, WWE's response to, okay, we were going to put the Lucha Brothers on SmackDown, bring them up to the main roster. This team is going to go to NXT, but it looks like they're coming to SmackDown. The Motor City Machine Guns are on their way to the main roster.
And it was funny. I saw Wheezy yesterday, and she goes, "What did I miss? What was that? What did I miss?" And then all of a sudden, somebody had posted it on Twitter that's what was happening, that we are going to get the Motor City Machine Guns instead of them going to NXT, which was the initial plan. Now they are coming up to the main roster and will be debuting on SmackDown. I want to say maybe in the next week or two.
Right. I mean, can we just also put this into fruition before we get to Mia Yim and Chelsea? Dude, let's put this out into the forefront. that ladder match between DIY, the Bloodline, and the Street Profits was epic. The friggin' Tommaso and Dawkins going through the ladder, Gargano and Montez going through the ladder, the friggin' epic friggin' splash to Tamatanga through the ladder from Montez Ford. These guys went buck wild, and it finished with
they went balls to the wall.
Balls to the wall. Bloodline retained the tag titles. One of the best doggone ladder matches in the history of SmackDown. And we've had TLC 3 with the Hardys, Dudleys, and Edge and Christian on SmackDown. We've seen so many of these. But this one was absolutely phenomenal. And I cannot wait till the next ones come up. And I'm going to say right now, I'm here for the Bloodline and Motor City Machine Guns. If we get that next, I'm here for it.
I'm here for DIY and
Motor City Machine Guns. Jesus.
I'm here for Street Profits and Motor City Machine Guns. I'm just here for them versus anybody because they can go out there and wrestle with the best of them. So the fact that they are going to come to the main roster and are coming to SmackDown, they're fucking awesome. And you know what? You asked me if it's like, if I'm Ray Phoenix, I'm like, hold on, let me cut you a check. Here's the money that I was from my time off. You can keep the damn money. You can keep your fucking contract and shove it up your fucking ass. I'm out of here. And if you want to do this whole I'll breach a contract and whatever bullshit, then if I'm with a company and I'll quit, I quit.
Right.
If I don't like fucking being there, guess what? I'm quitting. You could just keep your fucking money and I'm gone.
I equate it to, here's what WWE did right. When Bobby Lashley came back from injury, they told him that, hey, we're not going to renew your contract. They didn't just say we're going to add time. They said, okay, Bobby, great to see you back. Our plan is we're not going to renew your contract. But, he stayed and he fulfilled the obligations and he left. That's how you do it. You don't just tack the time on to friggin' force them under contract because you don't want to see them leave. You don't fucking do that. And WWE has done it before too. But
but that was under Vince.
Exactly.
We're going to talk, and eventually we're going to end up having this conversation as to the shit that certain people say, and they're specifically talking about Vince's regime, as opposed to what Triple H does.
Right.
Now, I get everybody's gripe with WWE at the time when it was Vince's company, but don't compare it to how it is now because it's not the same way.
Exactly. And I will say this, that we compare and contrast because let's talk about this in different regimes. What I want to play.
Hold on. I thought we were going to talk about Chelsea.
Oh yeah, that's right. I'm sorry. My bad, man. I'm sorry. So first of all, we haven't had a dumpster match since Braun Strowman. We haven't had a dumpster match since Braun Strowman and Kalisto. This woman came out with like trash bags on her. She accessorized with trash bags, and I'm like, oh, this is gonna be good. And then Mia Yim comes out all like ghetto and camouflage, ready to fucking scrap. And they're hitting each other with kendo sticks, and she puts the trash can on her head and does the senton. And literally, Piper Niven gets involved. They book this so well. And these two have faced each other on the indies and prior to WWE. I mean, Michael Cole, I'm going to give kudos to him because I love the fact that the TNA representation is not just on NXT, it's on the main roster. And he's like, well, these two women are former TNA Knockouts Women's Champions. You're goddamn right they were. Like, I love this whole thing. And then it finishes. This woman has a table set up on the friggin' garbage pail, on the friggin' dumpster, excuse me. And then friggin' Chelsea Green's like, oh, no. Mia Yim power bombs her through the table into the dumpster and then closes the lid. And then Chelsea's stankin' with the garbage on her. And then you see Pretty Deadly. Then you see A-Town Down Under. Then you see Nick Aldis and the puns of and Chelsea selling it with her facials like, whatever, I'm out of here. And her stankin'. And they did it tonight on Bad Blood with Bianca Naomi and Jade Cargill. And Hyper Niven stayed at the party. This was excellent.
I have to admit that Chelsea Green is a far better character than a lot of people give her fucking credit for.
Right. She
is literally making this WWE run far better than anybody ever fucking imagined. And kudos to fucking Chelsea and every damn thing that she's doing. And I've said this before. I wish that this announcement that all the shit that's going to happen at Crown Jewel and this Crown Jewel title. I really, really, really wish it would have been a mid-card title, because Mia Yim, Chelsea Green going for a IC title or a US title as a mid-carder, this would have been perfect for these fucking women. It would have been perfect for them just battling for a damn title. Yes, this dumpster match didn't need a title because it was just a fucking awesome match, but man, it would have been so much better had it been a title online.
My thing too is I look at it like this, like the promos that they cut, like Chelsea's was funny, of her in the dumpster and practicing and, you know, working out and whatnot for the match. Mia Yim is like, we were friends, used to come over my house, and it was equated like no Vaseline, used to be on my homie, like, now you act like you don't know me. Like the promos between these two, even for a dumpster match, that literally this feud was only like 3 weeks, but it was an impactful 3 weeks that you couldn't wait to see Chelsea get thrown into the dumpster.
We won't call it 3 weeks because they were doing shit on social media.
Yeah, and on the
and she was posting stuff on her Twitter and on her Instagram.
And
you look at her story, and Matt Cardona is sitting there, and he's telling her, "You need to do this, you need to do that." And he's telling her, giving her advice of things that she has to do. And then she's coming back, going, "Oh, I was all in a dumpster, and it smelled so bad." And I mean, it was awesome. This didn't just go to 3 weeks. This literally took 3 weeks. If it was 3 weeks, they took up all 21 days literally to just to post stuff, for them to just talk about it, and them to have the match. It was fucking great. Hey, by the way, hey Tony, see, this is what you do with your stars.
Yes, this is what you do with the women.
Take notes, sir.
It was so good, man. And the fact that you had, like, you know, Piper attacking Mia Yim on the SmackDown Lowdown, they used this on all platforms, and it was excellent. It was so cohesive. There was synergy, and it worked. It was fantastic. And what else was fantastic is we talk about different regimes, like you mentioned. So this was from the No Contest Wrestling, a new podcast with O'Shea Jackson Jr. and TJ Jefferson. And this was their first guest was CM Punk. This was him talking about, you know, Nick Khan inquiring when Punk was legally free to talk to WWE. And the reason why I bring this up to what Paul said, folks, is this just shows the different regimes with Nick Khan, Triple H at the helm, and just how the WWE environment is compared to what it was with Vince McMahon. So we're going to play this clip, and then we are going to get to our final videos from Bad Blood, and I'm going to play a certain clip from Busted Open, because Dave LaGreca, you funny son of a bitch. So let's play this first before we get to Dave LaGreca.
I definitely wasn't like, I probably did think, okay, that was it. I was done. Yeah. And then, you know, cause that happened in, I don't know, August or September. And then I'm just like kind of chilling. And then, you know, Nick Khan calls me in November, and he's like, when are you free and clear? And I was like, Nick,
I don't know if you heard.
I was fired.
I heard it through the grapevine that I might be free.
Yeah, like very, very publicly. How do you not know that? He's like, oh, no, I know. He's like, he goes, certainly you're not telling me that there's not an, and then he just stopped himself and he went, okay, we want to talk to you about coming back. And then I was just like, I'm on my way to the gym, and I'm flying. I think it was flying to Atlantic City the next day for a CFFC show where I do commentary. And I was just like, you know, sometime shoot me times next week, and we'll get on the phone and like we'll talk. And wheels just started in motion, you know. And you're on the phone with them, and somebody says something about Survivor Series being in Chicago, and you go, oh.
What?
Whoa.
Oh, man.
But we can't get a deal done in that amount of time.
Who said
it? But that's the spot.
That's the spot.
That's the spot. So how eager are both sides to realize it?
How eager were you?
As eager as they were.
Yeah. It couldn't be the Raw in Nashville the next night.
Yeah.
It had to be. Yeah.
No, because I think when we first started talking, it was just like, okay, you know, the typical Rumble. You come back for the Rumble.
Right.
You know, but
easiest one.
But me being the creative that I am, I was immediately just like, yeah, I get it. But that's what you do. That's what you do with everybody. Everybody gets that. You know, so like, and then it was a gift. Survivor Series is in Chicago. It's just in 3 days. So
come on, you got to
and one of those 3 days is Thanksgiving. You know, like that ain't a business day. Lawyers aren't working, so
the lawyers had to work overtime in 48 hours, right?
Brother,
I can't imagine the bill you got.
I'm a master at making people mad at me for stupid reasons, and a lot of people were mad at me that weekend.
But guess what? A lot more people were happy with you.
Okay, now that really sums it up in a nutshell. The WWE under Triple H and Nick Khan over Vince McMahon.
We talked about how quickly this got done, and literally it was within that amount of time. Now, he actually said that he was literally backstage, like he literally was like right there. He pulled up. He said he pulled up and he was in between two of the semis, of the WWE semis that were outside. He said he's turned to his left and he said he took a picture because it was Stone Cold Steve Austin. He sent it to Steve and Steve sent back, what WTF, buddy? You know, and you know, they came out, they got him, they gave him some sweats and a hoodie, walked him inside, literally like through everything. He was in Gorilla. First person that saw him in Gorilla was Bailey. Bailey came up to him and gave him the biggest warm hug. Like he said, you know, she's a hugger. She's like, oh my God. They were like trying to, all of a sudden you just like, he's talking to Triple H. Stephanie's there. He was talking about how it was just like so surreal to be there. He comes out, you hear his music. He said it was deafening inside the Gorilla, and he walked out. And you know what we got? Seth Rollins pissed off.
And for me, it's like we're coming upon a year of when he returned back to the WWE, and it just makes you want to see him and Rollins at WrestleMania. And when we get there, and the storytelling and the build on that road is going to be wonderful. And I mean, I equate this to, we'll mention Raw. Braun Strowman and Bronson Reed had one of the most epic last monster standing matches I've ever seen, breaking shit from barricades and weapons galore and plunder galore to breaking the flipping ring like Big Show and Brock and Big Show and Braun and Big Show and Mark Henry. And then Seth Rollins made the triumphant returns, you know, with the curb stomp on the steps and Braun Strowman getting the victory. I equated to it like this. Like, if this was under Vince McMahon's regime, Vince McMahon is the over of can they coexist? Like, if this was Vince, this would be Seth and fucking Bronson Reed would win the fucking tag titles next week over insert who the fucking tag champs are, because Vince loved doing that bullshit. This is not what we're getting. We are getting like callbacks to, oh, you think Seth is like gone? You took him out. No, he's right here. So you have Seth and Bronson Reed going to probably Crown Jewel or Survivor Series. A lot of people want to see Seth get his comeuppance on Bronson Reed. You want to see CM Punk the direction that they're going to go. Is he going to go for the world title? What's he going to do? Is he going to be involved in some type of war games? What are they going to do? Like, you have so many different directions instead of just a set direction that you're so predictably, you know, known for and predictably known for seeing. But in this particular predictability that Triple H can do, you want more. And that's the beauty of it. And I think, like we saw with Punk, you just want to see these unexpected surprises. You want to see these people do well, and you want to just see where we're going to go. Because holy cow, I was not expecting this. So
see, because more often than not, it's the pivot on the fly.
Yep.
It's like, you're going to go this direction. Nope, I'm going to go this direction. And all of a sudden, it's like something completely different. And come on, we didn't know Bronson Reed was gonna come out and start tsunamiing for him, Seth Rollins, when nobody saw that. And it was like, it's starting to make sense on how much you're trying to build this guy. You're trying to build him to be that next person. You're trying to build him into a star, and you're getting him out there as a heel, and people are just enjoying it.
Look at Xavier Woods, you know, and Kofi Kingston. He's showing the heel tendencies. The directions you can go is on the 10-year anniversary. You know, Kofi and Xavier start becoming more heels. Or what we all think should happen is Xavier turns on Kofi, and that splits up the New Day, and Xavier Woods, you know, just goes batshit on Kofi for not getting the opportunities that he rightfully deserves, or he thinks he deserves. Yeah,
or the biggest swerve, and Kofi turns on fucking Xavier.
All right, okay, that would be sweet. All right, like I like that.
All of a sudden, he turns heel, and all of a sudden you're wondering what the hell just happened. The biggest swerve
of them all. Yes, okay, I like your style. And then you have the Miz turning on R-Truth, which Karrion Kross got to the Miz, and I mean, you have the Wyatt Now you saw the Wyatt Six, the video of don't force our hand, better. Who do you think they're going after? Because Xavier Woods has history with the Wyatt family, with the New Day and the Wyatt family. Bro Dallas has history with the Miz and the Miz Taraj. So what do you think? Who do you think they're going after?
I don't know. That would be interesting if it was Karrion Kross.
That too.
That would be interesting.
That too, with the Final Testament, the Wyatt Six. So, like again, it's stuff like that, guys, that really hooks you in. Like for me, I can't wait till this week on Raw, where we got Jey Uso and Xavier for the Intercontinental title. Gunther and Sammy is going to be fantastic. I'm most looking forward to Sheamus done Donnybrook. Like, don't sleep on that one. Like, they have hyped up Raw so well in NXT this coming week. This is how you effing do it. And speaking of this is how you effing do it, Dave LaGreca.
I love Dave.
So on Busted Open, Dave LaGreca pisses off Nia Jax and Tiffany Stratton. He went there. Dave LaGreca, I love you, much like Paul Morales does. Fellow New Yorker like myself. Dave LaGreca went there, and here we go.
Tiffany, as you know, Tiffany, you have a big match on SmackDown tonight, but Nia has a big championship match tomorrow at Bad Blood. If you thought of cashing in that custom-made Money in the Bank,
dude, what's going on here?
Like,
what are you saying?
Hold on. Tomorrow night would be a good opportunity. I'm just saying, if you were thinking in that direction, tomorrow night would be a good opportunity.
Why would it be a good opportunity?
Why are you trying to put stuff in her head?
I'm literally gonna be cheering her on backstage.
You obviously don't have friends. I'm guessing, like you don't have like close friends in life.
No friends.
To where like they have your back and whatnot. Apparently, because this is what a true friendship looks like.
You have trauma or something.
You have trauma or something. And the best is not even that. Tommy Dreamer in the background just laughing. It's the cherry on top for me. Oh man, this was great.
Man, you got to admit that was pretty hilarious. The fact that he threw that out there and he actually said all that was comedy. It made for good listening. I mean, it was awesome, and to see freaking Nia like, what the heck? What's going on, Dave LaGreca? What the hell? It was beautiful, and if you watched tonight, you saw what Tiffy did, and it was cool. I loved it.
So, final two things as we come towards an end of the show, which, folks, thank you as always for listening to us. Like, again, you can tell the smile on our faces because it was a good week of wrestling, and then we have a lot of stuff to talk about in this world of wrestling. I couldn't ask for a better partner in crime on this. So, last two topics. First of all, y'all gotta stop with Triple H because he addressed this on the fucking press conference. This was Triple H addressing the criticism surrounding black representation in WWE. Y'all are wrong for going after Triple H, and here's what was Triple H's response to it.
Sure that there are wrestlers that get opportunities that are deserved.
I see everybody gets the opportunity. Like if I don't see the difference in anybody, I don't see the color, I don't see the nationality, I don't see any of it. I just see talent. I don't see the difference between men and women. I see talent. We tell stories with those talent, how they can handle those stories and how they can represent those stories and how we can bring those stories forward. So, I don't keep track of any of that. I do what's relevant and what is best in the best in storytelling and what's being delivered the best. And then that's what goes. No different than, the men and the women who main events, whatever the biggest stories are. That's where we go.
Next.
Sure
that is how you answer that mother flipping question.
And he's not wrong. I mean, come on now. Look at what Vince used to do. And I'm gonna use this as an example.
Sure.
Okay, so how often did Vince not listen to what the fans wanted? A lot.
Yes.
A considerable amount of times where we thought certain people were more over than others, Vince didn't want to give them the opportunity.
Daniel Bryan.
Aside from Daniel Bryan, I mean, we could look at Damian Sandow as a perfect example of somebody who was more so over with the crowd, and he wasn't just anybody. Like, he was so fucking over with the crowd, and Vince would not push him. Vince would not do anything with him because he just didn't believe in him, even though the crowd was so over. Daniel Bryan, yes, we can say that Daniel Bryan was in that category too. but there were so many others. Look at when why is it Kofi had his run as champion, then all of a sudden Brock Lesnar came in, beat him in 16 seconds or whatever the time was, and all of a sudden it was gone.
Because they had to do Brock and Cain Velasquez and fucking Crown Jewel.
Yeah, but you could have done that without the title. You didn't even need the title.
I agree, but that was his main draw of going to Saudi. And I mean, you could even make it. I mean, people talk about Triple H and the Reign of Terror. You could say Rob Van Dam, Booker T, and all those people that could have got their opportunities. I mean, like you mentioned, Damian Sandow. Like he was so hot when he had the Money in the Bank briefcase, then he lost to Cena. The Miz, friggin' him and the Miz, Damian Mizdow was hot, and then they killed that off. Like, there's so many people that you could have had. And I mean, it's frustrating because Vince couldn't see the vision. Vince, like you mentioned with Kofi, having him lose to Brock, there's a lot of people that Vince kind of missed the boat on. Like Cody Rhodes could have had a nice little run back in the day instead of making him Stardust. There were so many different variants that you had, but Vince just didn't have his, his the nose to the grindstone, so to speak. And he just couldn't see that vision. Like we mentioned earlier, it's like they don't see these people for what they were. Like CM Punk, when he was going into WrestleMania like 30, and they wanted to do him and Triple H as a high profile match, but it's like, no, like there's more to it than me just doing this. Also, even mentioned like CM Punk going into WrestleMania with The Miz at WrestleMania 27. They had something with Punk and Cena there, but they were so hell bent with The Miz. I think Miz worked his butt off, but the match that year should have been Punk and Cena, but they didn't do it. So I mean, there's so many different ways that you could have done these many different.
There's so many times where Vince didn't want to push somebody because he didn't believe in them. That's just point blank.
Right.
Even though the fans were had those people over, but Vince just didn't see them in that light. Rob Van Dam being one, CM Punk being another. Bobby Lashley at one point in time was not that guy to where he saw them as being that person, and the list can go on and on. Mark Henry would be another one. How he didn't see him. D'Lo Brown, when he was over,
yeah,
Vince didn't believe in him as a main eventer because he wasn't his guys. Even though he was his guys, he just wasn't. Farouk.
Yep.
The list can go on and on for black athletes that were so over with the crowd and genuinely just over, and completely people just were so happy with them. But Vince just didn't believe in him. Why are we gonna rate Triple H in the matter of 2 years of him doing this?
Yep.
Over Vince McMahon, who was doing it for 40 plus years?
It's absurd. And I mean, we'll mention our final person that we're going to mention here. Like, look at Kevin Owens. Like, Kevin Owens told him that him and Chris Jericho at that WrestleMania in 2017 for the U.S. title was one of the worst matches in WrestleMania history, which, first of all, no. And number two, I'll make another example. Like, Kevin Owens versus Chris Jericho that year should have been for the Universal title, and Chris Jericho should have won it after the Festival of Friendship and the turn and the list and how over that storyline was. But Vince's vision was, let's do Goldberg and Brock for the title.
Again, we can compile a list together, but it would be long as fuck, and this show would probably be about 8 hours.
Exactly. As we get to the final topic and everything that goes into it, this was the big thing that happened after Bad Blood, as Kevin Owens turns heel and attacks Cody Rhodes outside. And here's one of the camera angles that we have, and here's the footage.
I don't know who's holding the camera, but damn, we got some bad. That guy has nice shoes, though.
Yeah, right.
Nice car, by the way.
It is a very nice car.
That's a nice Lambo.
Yes, it is.
Well, that was the end of it.
Yeah, I think we can stop it there just for the fact that it's just they're going to tend to Cody. So, dude, like for me, everything that we saw there was just like, whew. It was a great way to end it for the fact that we now know what Kevin Owens feels about Cody and Roman teaming. And also the fact that it could be a layer of The Rock is the one who told him to take out Cody, because you saw Triple H come to the press conference. Cody won't be here. Now we know why he won't be there. So do you think it was an influence of The Rock telling him to do that? We have more of the Kevin Owens, Cody Rhodes feud. What does Randy Orton have to think about it? What do you think?
No, I think this is more along the lines of Kevin going into business for himself.
Yeah.
You know, he wants that title, and I mean, he gave him the opportunity, and he told him, you know, that if you double cross me, see what happens, and this is what happened. So, proof is in the pudding.
And I'm here for more Kevin and Cody from what we got at Bash in Berlin. I'm here for it. I'm here for if Kevin Owens is on the side of the bloodline against them in the War Games. More Cody and Kevin, give it to me. Give me more Fight Owens fight as a heel. Like I said, that was a great way to show it. And plus, it gives you more of a reason to tune into SmackDown coming up on Friday. So, again, headlines and highlights. And this is why we love professional wrestling. And this is breaking, as you can see by the photo here. So PW Insider has reported that Drew McIntyre was banged up coming out of the Hell in a Cell match at Bad Blood tonight. Drew was legitimately busted open when he was bashed by CM Punk with a metal toolbox during the bout, and as a result, required 16 staples to close the wound. Damn! Damn. So, yeah. That is for the love of professional wrestling and why we love this great art form of professional wrestling. So, again, guys, if you have not checked out Bad Blood, do the damn thing and check out the show. And besides that show, check out the weekly review, as we will be back next week talking the weekend wrestling and previewing Wrestle Dream, headlined by Bryan Danielson and Jon Moxley for the AEW World Championship. So, Paul, before we close this thing out, where can we follow you on the social media fronts? The floor is yours, my brother.
Okay, you can find me under the Dead Man of RWT on Twitter. You can find me under the Dead Man of RWT on TikTok, and of course, you can find me on my YouTube page, which is the exact same name, the Dead Man of RWT. And you could also find me on the RWT Facebook page, which will be in the link below. All the links for everything and all of our stuff and all of my links are in my bio on my Twitter. Of course, you can find me every single week on this show with this man right here. Oops, wait, wrong way. This man right here, that guy. My brother from another mother, my brother from the East Coast. He knows, I know. We right here. Anyways, Mr. Michael Larkin, floor is yours.
SM Show on MCL92 on Twitter, StephenMikeShow.com, LFCfights.com, Larkin_92, M Larkin MB on Instagram. Subscribe to Mike Larkin 92. We have hit over 1.01 subscribers. We're getting there, man. Keep on keeping on subscribing, and we appreciate the love. You can check out the weekly review, Deep to the Heart of Wrestling with Robert, Nicola, and I, Stephen Mike Show, LFC Podcast. Yeet. You can check out all the great shows, the Pop Culture History Podcast, old shows, new shows, just a plethora of content. And that's all I can say, and we appreciate you, and we love you. I love you, but not like Bruce Pritchard love you. Bruce Pritchard. Yeet. We don't love you like Bruce Pritchard. And Bruce, go fuck yourself. The McMahon documentary we'll talk about it another night, but yeah, because that's a whole nother can of worms. But for Paul Morales, my name is Mike Larkin. Thank you for listening, and yeet.
Yeet.